What's up, disc golfers? Joe here with Joe's Disc Golf, out in the middle of the forest, just talking to you because I am that dedicated to this podcast. I am on vacation in Michigan giving you a podcast. That is right. Holy macaroni, it has been a crazy couple days for me in my life. Driving 5 hours, Google Map time, with a 9-month-old. Any parents out there listening, give me a big old thumbs up in the chat right now. Give me a thumbs up in the comments in YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you're listening on Google Podcasts, if you're listening on the Joe's Disc Golf website, through that application, which is through Apple Podcasts, swing on over to YouTube, sign in real quick, maybe make an account, just for me, just for yours truly, just for Joe. Joe's Disc Golf, see, right here, right top of the hat. And maybe leave a comment down below. What is your favorite experience of traveling with your children? Don't hold back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it, because I love my daughter. I really do. She is my world. She comes numero uno, number one. For those of you who don't habla español, well, she's number one. Disc golf is like third. My wife is up there, gotta leave that there. Disc golf is third. But yeah, it was quite the experience through rain, on and off and on and off and on and off. Torrential downpours, bright blue sunny skies. Torrential downpour. Yeah, it was a great time. Before I get any farther, I need to remember to thank our sponsor. Yeah, I got a sponsor. And I forgot to thank this sponsor, this lovely sponsor, in the last video. That would be Log. Well, it is all around me. Log is all around me here in the woods. You're seeing a very special, very, very special view right now. Right here, right now. What rolls downstairs, alone in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog? What's great for a snack and it fits on the back? It's log, log, log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's log from Blammo. It's better than bad, it's good. Everyone wants a log. You're going to love it, log. Log from Blammo. Now, this podcast may or may not get interrupted by my family, my in-laws, who are inside right now, or the random people who are walking down the ski trail right next to this filming location here. It is a gorgeous night out here in beautiful, beautiful northern Michigan at the Boyne Mountain Resort. I highly recommend, if you have the means, if you have the capability, if you're out in the area, go ahead and check out Boin Mountain. I might have to take my hat off here because, one, I've got some sweet hat hair going on right now, but two, it's starting to get a bit darker here, and that means I'm in a race against the clock to get this podcast recorded while you can still see me. For those of you listening in the audio format, that means jack diddly squat to you. Now, what's been going on in disc golf? Last week, we had the Portland Open. This week, we've got the Beaver State Fling, where, again, going to be mixed with the attendance there. I did not get a chance to watch much of the Portland Open. I do know that Rick dropped out, unfortunately, because of his knee, although he has posted on social media recently that he is feeling so much better. His knee is doing a lot better. Dynamic Discs is happy. I'm happy. Ricky's happy. Everybody's happy. You know who's also very happy is Rick, even though I did mention Rick already, but that is because his new Saki Bomb Orbit Slammers are just released right now. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Slammer, it is a great approach disc. It is coming back out of retirement from Dynamic Discs. It went into retirement a couple years ago. I can't remember exactly when. I was devastated. I was distraught. I was broken up. That was one of my favorite approach discs, and probably my most favorite approach discs before I left Team Trilogy, which is not a sponsor in a traditional sense, but a great way to get noticed by the Trilogy brands. Team Trilogy is more of a fan-based thing, so if you're interested in something like that, if you're looking to try to get sponsored, that's a great way to do it. So go ahead, go through that. I tried my hand at that. Unfortunately, I had to make a choice between disc golf and a family, and I chose my family. So if you're in a better position than I was, then go ahead, do that. Getting back to the story, getting back into this, right now I know my in-laws and my wife and everybody are at the window right now laughing at me because I'm getting super animated over disc golf. However, c'est la vie. La vie. The Slammer was put out of production, which broke my heart. I was devastated, inconsolable for a period of time while I tried to find a replacement for the Slammer. The Slammer is great. It is an overstable approach drive that does not have a lot of glide to it. It is more overstable, at least the runs that I had. Now, I can't speak to the Saki Bomb Orbit, I almost said Felon, Orbit Slammers as to how they rate compared to the regular Slammer when I get mine in the mail. Thank you, Dynamic Discs, ahead of time. I will do a comparison between an old Lucid Slammer, a current Ricky Orbit Slammer, the Harp, the Zone, and I believe I have a classic Slammer that I will do a comparison, see how they all stack up. All of them will be brand new except for the Harp. I've used that a little bit, but I don't throw it all that much. It is not as stable as I would have liked. It has more glide than I would have liked. So I'm excited to see the Slammer back in production, back to see what we've got here, because that was a fantastic disc. So good. So good. Yes, I'm hydrating with Gatorade. Hashtag not a sponsor. I've spent most of the day getting back off the topic of disc golf a little bit. This will come back. We went up to Mackenzie Island, Michigan. Mackinac, for those of you reading this. Because Mackinac, they don't know how to spell up there. And it's M-A-C-K-I-N-A-C. The Mackinac, saw the bridge, saw the island, saw the fort. Turns out I happened to open UDisc before we went up there. Saw that they had a 9-hole course in the middle of the island. I was like, all right, game on. Total distance on UDisc, 1,750 feet, I think. Total distance for a 9-hole course, 1,750. Pretty short course. Very short course. However, what happened was when they put this in, which was not this year, I don't know when this course was put in, whenever they made UDisc, they did not have any T-pads or T-signs, so you have to use UDisc and try to figure out approximately where the T is. And I did a pretty decent job of that. A few of the holes, the T is basically either just to the right or just to the left of the basket. Not a big deal. What did change is the position of a lot of these baskets because they're not permanent baskets. They are temporary baskets that they just stake into the ground and they do a good job. They're Innova disc catchers. They're fine. They're inexpensive, but high enough quality where they're not those really crappy Amazon ones that just don't work whatsoever. They're just terrible, those Amazon ones that you get for like 50 bucks, if that. You know, you get what you pay for. They're not worth it. So whoever designed this, they worked with the space they had. There's a softball field you kind of got to work around, a soccer field you have to kind of work around, a skate park that you have to work around, sand volleyball court, and a basketball court that you all have to work around in that area. And it's a good time. I shot lights out for round 1. I did 2 laps because why not? So I did first lap. I was like, all right, hole 1 by far the trickiest hole because there's about 3 different gaps that you can choose from. Each one is about 3 feet wide, give or take. I didn't measure this, so, you know, don't hold me to it. But I went through, and I was like, okay, looks like I had a Berg, and I had my putting judge with me. That was it. That's all I had. My putting judge, soft, and a Berg. So I decided to take my Berg on a little bit of a forehand little flick. Just a little bit there, little weight shift, little flick. Tucked it up right next to the basket with a little tree love there. Not a great line to it, but still challenging and technical for being 190 something odd feet, according to UDisc. Now, take that with a grain of salt. There's only one hole, which I think was hole 6, 5 or 6, which was listed at over 300 feet. And I took my judge and just eyeballed it. Didn't have my rangefinder with me because, you know, going to Mackenzie Island with the in-laws, with the family, with the baby, doing some sightseeing, doing some shopping, riding a boat, having a good old time. Did not believe it was 300 feet. Looked at it, was like, no, that's not 300 feet. That's not 300 feet. Throw it with maybe about 250 to 275 power with my judge, which is basically a full rip. And I think I was about 9-10 feet away. So that wasn't right. Long story short, round 1, I shot 9 down. What up? Look out, Paul Macbeth. I'm coming for you. 9 down through 9 holes. I decide, hey, what up? I'm feeling great. I'm feeling awesome. It took me about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to play this whole course because, like I said, it was about 1,750, 100 feet. I believe it was more like 1,500 feet, give or take. But that's just that. So I go ahead. I go do that. I start hole 1. Great. Parked it again. Well, actually, it was more like a 15-footer. Not a big deal. I made 2 putts that were about 25 feet each to secure the 18 down. That's got to be a 1,200 rated round at the very least. At the very least. That's what I'm saying here. So, Innova, Discraft, Dynamic Discs, what up? I just shot 18 down through 2 laps, 18 holes. Where's my sponsorship? That's all I'm saying. Where's my sponsorship? And I think things are getting a little dark here. So without some trickery here, maybe I switch spots, get a little more light. See if the camera will follow me here. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me, camera. Camera won't follow me because it's run out of. There we go. Oh, that looks a little bit better. There we go. So, yeah, that was that. Shot 18 down today. Also, staying at Boyne Mountain Resort. If you ever get the chance to get all the way up here to Boin Mountain, which is north of Traverse City, if you're familiar with that, still hanging out with the trolls under the bridge of the Mackinac Bridge under the UP, hanging out under there. Boyne Mountain has a great summertime course. It is 18 holes. You start at the bottom of the mountain and you hike all the way up to the top. It will take you probably about 45 minutes to get up there, and it sucks. It's paved, don't get me wrong, it's paved, which is a huge help. However, it is still miserable, to say the least. It is very steep through most of it, but then on the positive note, you get to throw downhill. And unfortunately, there's no real warm-up area. I guess your warm-up is your hike to the top. Fortunately, where we're staying is about 3/4 of the way up. So I didn't have to walk that far up to it, but I still had to play all the way down and walk back up. So all said and done, still kind of miserable. If you show up at the right time of day, they have the chairlifts going. It's like $10, $15, somewhere in there, and you can ride it all the way to the top of the mountain, and it might be worth it for some of you out there. It might be worth it. However, fun course. Hole 1, definitely a difficult hole. It's hard to see the basket from the tee. It's 350, 60 feet, something like that. I'm trying to remember these all off the top of my head. I am recording this episode on my phone right now, and I'm going to try to upload it to YouTube as soon as I'm done with this. And I don't have enough data to upload this whole video. I do have Wi-Fi where I'm staying, and I did a quick speed test from my phone, and it is a whopping 10 megabits up. So that gives you about 1 megabyte, 1.5 megabytes up speed. And this is going to be probably an 8 gig file, all said and done. Oh, that's going to take a long time. That's going to take a real long time, but it is all worth it. For you audio podcast people, won't be a big deal because this file will be uploaded in probably no time at all, relatively speaking, and it will come out at the normal time. So for those of you on YouTube, yes, I'm about 15 minutes in, and there won't be a great thumbnail, probably. There won't be a clever intro sequence. There won't be a clever outro sequence because I don't have access to my editing rig, which is back home. It's a full out computer, which brings me to my next little spot. If you are really enjoying this, go ahead, give me a thumbs up on the video. You can go ahead and show your support over at Instagram, at Twitter. Hit me up there on Facebook, joesdiscgolf.com, back up and running. Not quite getting updated with content yet because it finally came back online and then I went out of town. And I understand that this is getting really dark and it's getting really hard to see me. And I really appreciate you kind of watching. This is always a talking head piece. So go ahead and, you know, minimize this, listen to me chit chat. It is what it is. If you're really, really thoroughly, very much enjoying this, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com/joesdiscgolf and freely give whatever you think is appropriate. $1, $5, $10, $1 million, whatever. Looking to help upgrade the Joe's Disc Golf experience here. Looking to get a gimbal, which will be a couple $100. A gimbal is something to help stabilize. I'm trying to shoot more stuff out on the course. Looking to get, looked into getting 4K cameras. I know we're getting kind of behind the scenes, and those are freaking expensive. So I'm looking at buying another iPhone 12 Pro or iPhone 13 Pro, whichever I can get cheaper, because believe it or not, buying a 256 gig or even a 128 gig iPhone 12 Pro or 13 Pro is significantly cheaper than buying a 4K camera that can do 60 frames per second. So every little bit helps. Every little bit helps out with that. Also looking at getting a mobile editing rig, also known as a laptop, to help with things like this. When I go on family vacations, I can still deliver you quality content. That's my little spiel there. If you want to donate, great. If not, that's great too. That is delicious lemon lime Gatorade. So back to Boyne Mountain. Again, I highly recommend you come out here. As I mentioned, hole one, kind of difficult. Was able to par that one out just because the way some of the trees are, the way the low-hanging trees are, you have a difficult time getting a good line to the basket to be able to get in there. One of the other issues that you run into are some of the holes are dead straight for 300 feet. And I do struggle with some of that. And I do understand that. I understand that is a limitation with my capabilities. I get that. However, when you're teeing off and it's dead straight and then sitting probably 6 feet higher than you is the basket, okay, that's okay. You're throwing over a little valley that's a road that you can take. It's a sandy road, very sandy up here. Very, very sandy. I hate sand. Gets everywhere. It's coarse. However, when the low-hanging branches prevent you from even seeing the basket, no matter how hard I try, because the way the branches are, it is impossible to get it anywhere near the basket. So I did the best I could. I was like 70 long, laid up, got my par. I think overall I finished like 6 down. There are some really fun holes. Never in my life have I outdrove a 409-foot hole, especially with the backhand. Now, that was an experience. I threw it. There's another group ahead. They got off the tee. They yelled clear. I was like, cool, I'm going to go. Took my trespass, let it go on a little hyzer, flipped it up to flat, started to ride to the right, and I knew that this was going to cruise past the basket. I ended up going probably 75-ish feet long. So they have circle 1 marked, which is great. According to UDisc, I was outside of circle 2, roughly. So I was 70, 75 feet long of a 409-foot hole. So I threw it about 480 without actually feeling like I threw it 480. Elevation, throwing downhill is fun. I threw it, yelled 4, scared the bejesus out of this group because they weren't that good, and they weren't expecting anyone to be able to throw it that far, that clean. And they're like, wow, that was a really good throw. I was like, well, yes, distance-wise, it was a great throw. However, accuracy-wise, it was not a great throw. And wow, this is getting really dark. I apologize to all of you YouTubers out there, YouTube watchers out there. But, yeah, that was kind of how that went. And that was a fun hole. Never have I ever, and we're playing Never Have I Ever. I got my hands up, got all fin. Never have I ever outthrown a basket, a 210-ish foot basket with a berg, with a standstill forehand, without a weight shift, just basically a wrist flick. Never have I ever outthrown that until recently. And that happened to yesterday, I guess, is when I played it, where I managed to do that. And I just took it and I just did a little flick. Turns out a berg will end up hyzering when it starts to die. And it made it just around this baby little right-hand curve, tiny little curve. And it flopped down near the basket and slid. It would have slid probably 30 long just because it was so smooth. But there was a stump there that I managed to drop next to, hit, and it kept me nestled up probably 5-10 feet from the basket. Although my favorite hole on the course is hole 18. It's 680-ish feet, give or take. I'm trying to remember, as I said, remember this all off the top of my head. It is about 680 feet, give or take, with a Mando on the right-hand side. So you have to go to the left. And I stumbled across another group who's complaining about that because they throw backhands, and it's hard to get all that distance there. Now, I throw forehands for power distance, and I did not get a good release with my Sheriff. It was a decent release, but it wasn't my best out there. And I still threw it over 500 feet. I was 150 short of the basket on this par 4, the only one of 2 par 4s on this course. And yeah, it was so much fun to just get out there and just let one rip. And threw my next shot, laid it up next to the basket, tapped out for my 3 again. I think I was 6 down, 7 down, something like that. I have it on U-Disc. I don't remember off the top of my head. Played this course a little bit blind, but I also, like, if I came up to a hole, didn't know where the basket was, because some of it was not very obvious, I would go and just, all right, here we got this, we got that. I'm going to walk down there, walk back. I managed to double my step goal for the day, which is my normal step goal, 10,000 steps, got 20,000 steps, and I walked 30-something odd flights of stairs. It was absolutely insane. So, very happy I did that. Boyne Mountain, again, I give it a 4 out of 5 on U-Disc. I would rate it a little bit higher. However, the course maintenance stuff that is lacking is kind of what I was upset about. Low-hanging limbs. I'm not even saying you got to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff with it, but some of the low-hanging limbs, that wasn't fun. Some of the signs, some of the markers, it just wasn't clear where you were going. There was one hole where you start out and you kind of throw over a valley around a corner, forehand shot. Same group I had just caught up to. They're like, oh yeah, it's just up this way. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get greedy. I take my Kona sign misprint Felon, get it up around the corner. They're like, wow, that was really good. I was like, cool. Had I known to throw it about 30 feet higher and disc up to maybe, say, my Enforcer or maybe my Stable Raider, I could have got far closer to the basket. But instead, I was about 70 feet short, 30 feet-ish, 30, 40 feet lower than the basket to an elevated basket. Now, I am, on a good day, 5'10". On a day I go to the doctor's office, 5'9 3/4. Granted, this is on a slope. I got my feet right next to the basket, level, tried to get as level as I could on the ground. My head, my eyes were even with the top of the cage. So elevated basket on a hill. You sadistic bastards. Oh, God. Oh, I love you. It was great. It was awesome. One of the fun things is, or the bad things, depending on how you look at it, you don't really get many skips because most of the ground here is sand. So when you throw, it crashes into the ground, you're not going to go anywhere for the most part, which is great. So you can get aggressive and throw some stuff, knowing that the second you hit the ground, it's pretty much going to just die there, which was pretty fun to watch because I'd throw some pretty aggressive lines and watch it come down and just go poof into a cloud of sand and go, well, I know where my disc is. Don't have to find it anywhere. But yes, Boyne Mountain Resort, I highly recommend it. Now, I credit some of my success on I credit all of my success on the short course with my approach practice, which I briefly touched on a previous episode. And what that entails is marking out spots at 125, 150, 75, and 200 feet. Those are my approaches. Now, if you don't have that kind of distance, if you're maybe a rec player or an intermediate player, go start out 75, 100 feet and go up by 25 or so, give or take, wherever you're at with your distance. You know, try to, whatever you think is an approach distance where you're not ripping on a full out drive, where you're not like, okay, yes, my max distance is 250 feet, 275 feet. Okay, but I know I can get to a certain distance with a standstill at, say, from 100 feet. So go there and work on that. Take your throwing putters. If you throw with classic soft, if you throw with a soft putter, don't take that out and throw that because you're just going to ruin it. Get something a little more premium, whether that is a classic blend plastic, whether that is a lucid plastic, whether that's premium, however you want to define it, whatever your plastic is called at your favorite manufacturer, go ahead and find something that's durable and use that to practice and get used to throwing backhand approaches, forehand approaches, all the different kinds of approaches. That's everything you want to do, and that's everything you need to do, because those will get you better at the sport. Those will get your scores lower. How many times where you're like, all right, I'm still 100 feet out and I am terrified that I'm going to blow past, or I'm terrified that I'm going to look like an idiot and still end up 40 short. Now, this is on a mostly open hole. Now, take out some of the trees and all that stuff. What you should be doing is getting out there and practicing those shorter shots. That also will help you get better with knowing angle control, knowing speed control, and just knowing your game better, knowing all that stuff. That is something that I've really been working hard on, and that is something that I know has helped my game out. I know I've shaved off a handful of strokes here and there, and I know there's a lot more to be gained. I'm still not 100% confident. What has helped me was pulling out the rangefinder and working on that and just going, all right, I know the distance to this basket is 150 feet. Okay, so if I stand still and I take my forehand, I have to do a little weight shift and get a little bit behind it, but nothing too crazy, depending on what I'm throwing. Now, if I'm trying to throw a berg that far, I'm probably going 80% throw, 75%, 80% throw. If I'm throwing my throwing judge that far, I'm probably going at a 60% throw, because the berg just dies and the judge will kind of glide out there and coast out there. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is my vacation episode here. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications, because you will get notified anytime there's a new video coming out. I'm trying to get some footage of Boin Mountain and my play out here and see how that goes. Try to get a recorded round. I forgot my lapel mic last time. The clip kind of broke, so we'll see if I can jerry rig something like that and get that out and going. There will be a putter only round coming up that I'm very happy with how that turned out. Working on that, and that was at Lucerne Park. So if you're in Warsaw, Indiana, go out there. Get out there, try to play as many different courses as you can. It's a ton of fun. Disc golf is a blast, and that is one thing that I really want to get out to you guys. Disc golf is a ton of fun. So, as always, if you get a great tree kick back into the middle of the fairway, don't forget to thank Treesus. If you get kicked deeper into the woods, well, you have transgressed against Treesus and need to repent and reflect and fix your ways, fix your errors, fix your sins. As always, I've been Joe. You've been awesome. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you all or talk to you all in the next video. Later.